The issue of transport equipment, we have a provision of 4 billion. State House has an aging fleet, and right now, Honorable Chair, the President is undertaking countrywide tours. These countrywide tours run down the already run down fleet, so we need to replace the fleet of vehicles. We are only asking that, can we have an extra 6 billion to take it to 10 billion so that we cover the gap that we are experiencing. You asked us to provide status of implementation of all externally financed projects. We do not have externally funded projects in State House. I submit. Under State House, we have a budget allocation this financial year of 75 billion. It did not experience any budget cut. We still have 75. And in here, we cover all the presidential initiatives that are within State House, that the President finds it fit, deems it fit to handle under State House. In here, we handle things currently. This is where we do monitoring and inspection of health facilities across the country. This is where we inspect ongoing infrastructure projects. This is where we handle corruption cases by the Anti-Corruption Unit. We have another initiative that is called Government Citizen Interaction Center, where we enhance interaction between the government and citizens. There is the skilling program in Kampala and in the hubs. Then there is the implementation of the common user facilities. Yes, the exact outputs, for example, are in the document. For example, skilling Kampala, we have 2 intakes of about 4,500 youth, which takes it to 9,000 a year. For the 19 hubs across the country, we have again still 2 intakes of about 3,500 per intake, which takes it to 7,000. We intend, with the resources that are being provided, to implement the common user facility, value addition, and for a model across the hubs, especially for those where it hasn't yet been rolled out. We will continue to implement the model villages concept in the 36 model villages across the country, and also we will undertake any other wealth and job creation initiatives in various parts of the country as directed by fund activities would feed into the overall mandate and how we aligned to the planning framework. Just as a reminder, but I know that we already know, State House is mandated to facilitate and support the presidency for effective and efficient performance of its constitutional and administrative responsibilities. And when we do that, the presidency offers overall leadership of the state and ensures that national goals are achieved. Particularly, we are aligned to Objective 4 of the National Development Plan 4, which is by the roadmap that was provided by National Planning Authority. And that objective is to strengthen good governance, security, and the rule of the state in development. As an entity, we belong to the Governance and Security Program, and within the Governance and Security Program, there are a number of objectives that we are aligned to, objectives and interventions that lead to our planned activities. Just to highlight which objectives within the Governance and Security Program that we are aligned to, we have objective number 1, to strengthen public policy management, legal and institutional frameworks for social economic transformation. The interventions that State House are aligned to within this program is to enhance the administration of program services. Particularly, this is where we'll support the president to mobilize masses for poverty, peace, and development. We'll support the president to promote trade, tourism, and investment. We will undertake the skilling programs, the common user facilities, as well as supporting farmers in the model villages. There is another objective under the program which relates to strengthening accountability, transparency, and anti-money laundering systems for effective governance. And the intervention within the program is to strengthen prevention and detection of corruption and corruption and enforce anti-corruption measures. Here, State House participates through receiving and sorting complaints, especially in as far as the anti-corruption unit is concerned, investigating them and forwarding them to the DPP. Also monitoring the inspection, going on to page 7, monitoring the inspection and monitoring and inspecting the delivery of health services in government health facilities, as well as inspecting ongoing public infrastructure. The other objective that we are aligned to within the program is the objective that relates to promoting Uganda's interests abroad at regional and international level. Here, State House will participate in the promotion of international relations, regional integration, and regional peace initiatives through meetings with various heads of state, foreign dignitaries, and attending various regional and international meetings. Honorable Chair, before we conclude what we were requested to provide, it's prudent that we also talk about our underfunded requirements, so that we bring it to the attention of this honorable committee, under which we have a provision of 31.487 billion. However, as you may have noticed, we already have a supplementary which we are running with this financial year. This supplementary has not, this need has not been provided in the indicative budget. So that requirement still remains, the 4.626. Why? Because the president has engaged in creating new units and recruiting of staff to handle the mandate, the extra responsibility that he has given State House. Closely related is the issue of gratuity. We have a provision of 3.3 billion shillings. However, with the recruitments that we have, we still need the gratuity resource. Last financial year, we got a supplementary on gratuity of 3.5 billion. This was not given in this financial year. So even as we run, we have a shortfall on gratuity of last year 3.5, which was not provided, and the extra staff that have come in, which takes it to 4.7 billion shillings. Lastly, but not least, is the issue of transport equipment. We have a provision of 4 billion. State House has an aging fleet, and right now, Honorable Chair, the President is undertaking countrywide tours. These countrywide tours run down the already run down fleets, so we need to replace the fleet of vehicles. We are only asking that, can we have an extra 6 billion to take it to 10 billion so that we cover the gap that we are experiencing? You asked us to provide status of implementation of all externally financed projects. We do not have externally funded projects in State House. I submit.
Chair, I have a comment on the issue of the challenge in relation to the accommodation. Year in, year out, this has been our recommendation for the last 8 years, unless we change the strategy. And one of the areas that I will recommend on is to reflect the implications of the expenditure as we do not build these offices. For example, when you read what is here, we are saying that the expenditure is on increase. But how much? We have been providing figures, but they are not alarming. They remain neutral. So this time, can we get the exact expenditure that we spend vis-a-vis having these accommodations? If we don't put that, it is not going to make people worry about this situation. So I would love that the Office of the President get out that figure for us. How much do we spend as we do not build? So that we shall be able to justify this request. Two, I want to appreciate Office of the President for the monitoring they are doing. This is under governance because they impact on other ministries. I have specific interest on the issue of commercialization of agriculture. I will request that you pick interest on the marketing side. PDM is impacting positively on our lives. For example, we produce a lot of, crops, but we do not have the market. If you could pick this out, link up with other ministries, so that as we spend the monies of PDM, we have available market that will impact positively on our daily lives. Two, on page 7, Roman number 3, you have talked about Innovation Fund. We discovered that the challenge is not only budget, but the little money given by government is overspread to too many projects. Therefore, if you could deepen up your monitoring and research to get to know the number of projects being funded, it's over 100 different projects. So the little money is spread, and it becomes so very difficult to realize the impact we expect. On Roman number 4, I am also interested on the issue of coffee, tea that you have mentioned here. We are focusing on how to balance the growth of all the regions in this country. I have interest on northern Uganda. We thank the government for introducing coffee, and we have picked it up, but we are so much behind. So I will request that you pick it up. As you monitor, you come with clear statistic reflections on the impact of government mobilization to these new regions, on how to pick these new valuable crops, cash crops, so that you have special strategy and you coordinate with the Ministry of Agriculture. Otherwise, we are getting lost. Adjumani is one of those districts, and I have planted 20 acres of coffee. But, no one is close to me to teach me so that I can also teach other farmers. So if these new initiatives by the government can be closely followed up, so that we also move closer to increment of our income. The breeds for the animals is so key. We want economic growth. Yes, through NAGRIC, much is being done, but it is not felt. It's not on the ground. We have our animals. For example, our cows, they look like goats.
They look like, or are small?
They are very small like me. So even if you take them to the market,
Poor feeding.
The kgs will not really give you what you have expected, so the returns are too low. So I would love that you pick it up and follow this up. Lastly, I want to end by saying I was perturbed when we were handling the NDPA 4. My understanding is there's government in place, and there is a party in this government. My understanding was that the manifesto of our party takes the lead when we are processing the NDP 4. We started to discuss these things, but I was not happy. I wanted to see that the first thing is there is a party in place, and this is the manifesto that has to be put in the NDP so that the government accounts to the people. Can we do better next time? Because there is a party in ruling. Thank you so much.
Of strengthening transparency, accountability, and the anti-corruption. It appears in the President's office as well as in State House now. And we do, all of us, we are aware, of course, we are in the same government. Whereas State House, President's office has that component, State House had the component. Parliament also has the same. We also go and do oversight. The Auditor General does almost the same thing. The IGG is almost doing the same thing. But when the vice of corruption is increasing day by day, my question, which is ring around my mind, are we on course as Ugandans? Are we doing anything? Because it is common knowledge that corruption has skyrocketed. Despite all these interventions, President's office, State House, Parliament, Auditor General, IGG, and many other lower organs doing the same kind of stuff. But day by day, the country is facing a problem of corruption. And that's where we have a very big problem. My question to the Honorable Minister, why don't we, in fact, like in State House, there are many parallel structures that we give money to monitor. All of them are corruption. When you see land issues, the country is in total chaos. When you go to the civil servants, projects, what have you, the country is in disarray. Are we on course? Can we ask ourselves and say, despite all these monies that we are putting in our budgets to do work, to fight the vice of corruption in Uganda, are we really moving anywhere? Or we declare that we are defeated? Because the money is a huge amount of money. But all doing the same, and who is the corrupt? That is a very good question. And I will be happy to be answered on that. And another issue is to do with skilling. Whereas the skilling program is good, I still have my reservation about it. The status controller knows it. And whereas we have even those hubs and so forth, the syllabus, what is being taught there, the category of students, and what they study there. Incidentally, that's my area of expertise. But if they are subjected to me for an interview, I believe none of them can pass the interview for me to employ that person. Because I'm a background of technical education. But if I interview so many on certain areas, now when these people are brought before for unemployment, that's where you see a very big problem. Because there are standards. And I would only request that we revise the operations of those hubs and the syllabus and whatever. Now, the skilling that is done in Kampala is good because that one we regard it as extramural to help people survive. It's only in Kampala. Whereas the whole country is looking forward to have similar kind of arrangement. Why only Kampala? We only see Kampala as where the people, that's why there is rural urban migration. If we extended this idea to the countryside, guru everywhere, and we do those skilling programs from their respective areas, that would solve a problem, Madam State House Controller. But now that I'm in Kampala and there is a skilling program happening, I will go to Budaka and bring my people from Budaka come and benefit out of, and that is rural urban migration. They will become a problem to me. So I would request that I see the budget. The budget may be small, but it's better we balance this country, not leave other countries to be poor when other areas who are slightly better, who have other means of survival, are the one enjoying these services. Another issue was about, this is the State House, it's to do with the budget performance, the non-wage. The Commission in her presentation approved the budget. It was revised, and you got a huge sum of money. Commissioner planning is really that one, planning as Ugandans. Is that your planning? If all seated here, we indeed went to school, and you tell the country that here we planned for this, we revised it, and we got this, we spent this. When all things don't add up, we look shabby when we don't plan well. Let's plan for this country. It's ours. Country, we are not running away from this country. Now, when planning, and for the ordinary Ugandans down there looking at us, would expect us, we speak a lot of English here. They believe we plan and we have studied to plan for this country. Let's not plan haphazardly. So the performance here, final performance, is a big problem. And it's not only you, but it's across all MDS. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, colleagues. We have a time constraint to have some other agencies to, and we move on very quickly. In that order, please. Honorable Muhesi, any issues? Honorable Kangwache?
Mr. Chairman, first and foremost, I want to thank the presenters, and as per the information that is given to us, Book of Presidency. For me, I just wanted to have some more light on policy development and capacity building. It is very clear that 250 public officials, in bracket both women and men across government trained in public policy management, this has been achieved. And they are still doing it. But one would love to know exactly how much has it impacted? What could be the return on investment? What have we achieved as far as this is concerned? Mr. Chairman, we have been planning and giving a lot of monies, especially in policies and other things that are very required. But it is quite important for us to see who are these who have achieved this. How is it really helping us as a nation so that we can continue giving a lot of money? Mr. Chairman, another thing which is cutting across, and it is general when you see on the booklet of the presidency and even the issue of the State House, you see on the indicative budget plus the approved budget, there is a very, very big difference. I want to know from maybe the ministers, I want to know from them exactly what finance gives them. What could be the real, reason. Why do they give them less? Why do they intend to give them less? Depending on what they have budgeted for and what finance has released it. Where do they base? Because for them to give them their budget meaning that there are some activities that are going on, right? And very, very pertinent and important for the good of this nation. So if you give me less, where have you left the other ones? And how shall we go on without having those activities? My question is very, very clear. I wanted them to tell us where do finance base to give them less, and why not them, maybe that.
Honorable Naume, no issues? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I found when Mr. Sadat is
State House President say they are supposed to monitor this important thing. Parish government model money is actually national cake, where everybody is supposed to really share it equally. There is a lot of corruption in it. I have a parish in my constituency that was supposed to, definitely they got 100 million. But the residents, the beneficiaries, got only 80 million. 20 million goes to the parish chief and the other committee. Corruption. I have seen Martha Asimwe, the person who is in charge of RDCs, and I know the RDCs down there and the ISO are supposed to do this work. We have reported that these people fear to come out and tell the truth. Under the presidency and State House, don't you have people who can really help? Bring these people very close so that they can declare. Because they are going through a lot, but they don't want to declare. How is the presidency going to help us in this issue? The other issue is on cabinet decisions. I talked about it last time. That cabinet makes a lot of decisions, but implementation and monitoring is very, very slow. I have seen 40 cabinet decisions here. They were monitored out of 6,000. That is 0.06%. But the wage which has been raised to presidency is this quarter, these 2 quarters, is actually more than 50%. So who is in charge of monitoring cabinet decisions? This person who is performing at 0.06%, but is earning 100% salary. Cabinet decisions, if they say that 2 taps of water in every village, that's the cabinet decision, and you don't monitor it, we get problems down there when the president has gone to campaign. What's wrong with the cabinet decisions monitoring? Honorable Chair, the other thing is about State House. I don't know. Are we handling State House or presidency only? Sorry. The issue of model villages under Department of Poverty Alleviation in the State House. Can't we have a budget for every village so that you work throughout the year instead of working in 1 quarter out of 4 quarters in a year? So that you do something every quarter so that people don't forget. Because if you deliver goods like in the 1st quarter of the year, and all the other 3 quarters, they don't get anything, they really forget. I would propose that we could make a budget for every village so that we are in that village throughout the year, even if they are getting something, so that you are active in those selected villages. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the presenters. Chair, mine is a quick one. I went through what my brother Sadat presented. He talked of a number of reports. We do not have those reports, but he brought out the output, what they have been able to achieve It is what they went through in getting this output. I'm surprised to see that we get these outputs now minus challenges. Since there are no more challenges in getting this output, I think it will not be necessary now to, to give you so much money that you ask, because there are no more challenges in attaining this. So I expect that next time, since we do not have the report, you also put some bullet points on some of the challenges that you came across. A colleague did mention about the impact. I will give you an example on the web. In my village, a group of women went and received their web money. They got about 15 million shillings. Since they were very scared about the follow-up, and if they failed to pay the money, they would be in prison. They kept the money, did not utilize it. Time for payment came, they went and paid. The CDO's report was excellent, was flagging it all around that this is the best group. Best based on what? Because they have paid fully. But did they utilize it? Did it cause impact? No. So I think it is important to see some of these things. Two, you had a zero expenditure on what was released under development. At least State House did explain why. Yours is left blank, yet money was released to you, but zero expenditure. Our assumption is, since we are at half year, you should have spent close to 50%. The other thing is, I don't know whether this is a duplication, and probably State House and Presidency explain. Presidential advisors, where do they fall? Do they fall under State House or they fall under the Presidency? But I see it also appearing here under State House. So maybe we need to harmonize and see where these people are housed. The other thing is, I was privileged to be assigned by the chair then to present our budget before the budget committee last year. And one of the issues they raised, they needed some clarification to have a clear distinction between model villages and the PDM interventions. We just conclude rationalization, whereby a number of agencies were brought back to the mother ministry and others are put together. I was looking at patriotism, whether we should have them as a standalone or put them under the RDCs. This is for you to think about, because this would be managed well. If they are put together under the RDCs, it will still move on well. Otherwise,
problem with our corruption. Many agencies are in place. A lot of funding is put there, but nothing seems to come out. We've had one case from the Prime Minister's office, the other one of who? This man who was imprisoned. We've not had another serious case, yet there is corruption everywhere, all the time, every day. Is it because of the law? You know, in law they say it is the law that justifies the level of justice. I think when Honorable Kasoro was talking about this, my mind rests towards the law. Maybe our laws are also extremely very weak. And the implementers very lax. I think there's something fundamentally wrong. The president, I think, is very, I don't know, must be very frustrated. Has put in everything, but then why are there no results? You hear, I remember one time, the Right Honorable Prime Minister personally caught somebody in Gomba Hospital, something like that. It was aired on TV, Gomba. So what happened? The next day they were there, as if nothing had happened. Somebody's caught with government drugs, boxes full, here and there, evidence, clear cut. I think there's something wrong with our laws, and that is something that should be thrown back to us as legislators. But it also comes from you, the implementers, to push in over to us and say, hey, look here, much as we have done this, but there's a gap, there's a lacuna here. Why don't you fill it up so that we can help you? We need to come out with something concerted and clearly strategic. Two, His Excellency, the President has always been very persistent all the time. And from your conversations here, we've been clearly coming out with shortages, shortfalls, supplementary budgets. And you know what happened here? We said we no longer want supplementary budgets. We want you people to come out very clearly, so that this time around, when we are processing the final document of the budget, the president should no longer be put onto, sometimes we embarrass him unnecessarily, unfortunately, and that's what we are not going to do as this committee. Come out clearly that the president will need this ABCD to facilitate the running of the office of the president, and we put it clearly to Parliament so that something's done. It's embarrassing. It's not good. We were supplementary already. That means there's also a gap in your planning component.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I am a member of Budget Committee. Immediately after here, I'm going to a supplementary. You can imagine. And you've talked about the issue of maybe some of us, the planners, trying to cripple down the work of the president. But they are also tied. And that's the question I put across. What is it that finance has failed to give them the money they want in order to be able to execute their programs very well? If they don't give them that money, don't you think they will come up with the supplementary budget in the middle? So we need to have that clear information from them, yes, so that we can be able to see how best can we support them.
Information.
Yes.
This is just information session. State House was identified as the best entity that absorbed its money. And I was in the House. I had to make the chair of the committee repeat that on the floor of Parliament. And State House was uploaded. That means that they really spent what they asked. That report was presented by Honorable Chivumbi as a chair of Park Central. And Chair, I am not saying that it's good to always come, but as we are moving towards 2026, these are birds of the same feather, me and you. I think we need to understand the components that generate a lot of supplementary budget, and also the classified expenditures. So I am just giving information that State House performed very well. And the House was so happy.
Yeah, of course, this is very, very good information. This is very good news. And the more reason why we should, from here on, all the areas that need funding for our office, the office of the president, State House, to run perfectly. So that now we throw the whole burden on to Ministry of Finance. That's why we should capture as more detail as we possibly can. Plan, sit down, come up with a very, very good plan, a detailed plan, so that it's now the fault of ministry, not this committee. From now on, it's not good really to put our fountain of honor in such a bad taste anymore. Those of you who are with us in State House, remember what we agreed. No more. State House, President's office should be very well facilitated offices to depict well, of course, one, on the country, on the party, and us as as a committee. Why not? So that one I will not entertain any further. CG deductions. These are priority offices, for goodness sake. Then, but the issue of corruption, as far as your offices is concerned, we need also to pull up our socks, your socks, to ensure that the level of corruption, especially on these presidential initiative programs, like the parish development model. Why should a colleague cry here every other time? And we have RDCs there. The head of the RDC is here. Maybe you have to tell him, tell the country what you are going to do next. Your office is now very well equipped. You've told us you have gotten vehicles for all your deputies. That's very good, meaning even RDCs have. The assistant RDCs have motorcycles. This is very good. We must appreciate and congratulate you. And we also congratulate the committee for having done that. But they don't have to sit in the offices. Do they have enough fuel available for their movements? A vehicle collapses on the way, another DC is stuck on the road without fuel, and you think he or she will go back to... They're also human beings. They get embarrassed to go around asking for some support here and there. So for you to have good results from them, you need to facilitate them also. And there has been an outcry. Some members of parliament coming to say, look here, why is RDC so-and-so, deputy RDC so-and-so fighting a member of parliament? It might not have come out clearly, but it is there, and I want to request that in the future, we don't get such a bad reports. We are serving the same government, and we want the government to succeed. Kindly employ your staff down there to work very closely with these honorable members of parliament and other stakeholders, the NRM leaders and what have you. And the number plates issue is not coming out as quickly as we thought. I recently I interacted with one of the staff members from that secretariat and said they were going to start with government vehicles and newly registered vehicles, with the new vehicles coming in. I don't know whether all motorcycles shouldn't have been the priority, since they are the biggest culprits in as far as commitment of crime is concerned. That one also needs to be looked into. Why didn't we start with, for instance, motorcycles? Start with, every owner comes up with his or her own motorcycle, registers, and goes. Of course, budget separation places like State House. That one, our colleagues in the will have to work on that one. Monitoring and evaluation, there is still a gap. You have now RDCs with the assistants, very many of them. You need to, we also need reports. One of these, do you get those reports? Is it, as you present your ministerial policy statements, we need at least a brief statement on that. Actually, an elaborate statement on that. If they have been doing the work, what are the results? Like Honorable Naomi was saying, how do we continue paying that money for monitoring and evaluation without any feedback? We want to know. When we monitored here, we blah, blah, blah. We found out the following gaps, and the following gaps have been filled up like so and so, like this and that. 10 culprits have been apprehended, and we have dismissed them from the service. Something like that. Let the committee, let Parliament also be informed. The others will come in as you make your presentations. I want to thank you. Some members have already come in, and I would like to request them to also introduce themselves to the visitors. Today's visitors are from State House and President's Office, honorable members. We have the Minister for the Presidency with us and the staff.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I am Onekalit Dennis Amere, a Member of Parliament for Kitgum Municipal.
Sponsorships. Yes. Scholarships. We've had lots of pledges that have been made by His Excellency the President, and I want to cite out this specific one. The scholarships that were given to Uganda Nurses and Midwives Union in 2018. There is something that has been pending till now. In 2018, while the nurses and midwives were celebrating their day in Kitgum, the President pronounced to sponsor 20 nurses for their upgrades. And the Honorable Chair and Minister, it is only 2018 when this was cleared. 2019, 2020, till now. It has kept pending. The President for the Uganda Nurses and Midwives Union has been making follow-ups. And honestly, we don't know where the problem is. Last year, we had cases where some of the graduates basically from Ongozi University specifically, they were stopped. They were told they cannot go on with graduation until they clear their dues. And I believe this could be one of the issues, but there could be quite a number of them. It is the issue that, Chair, you've talked about. You know, when the President makes a pronouncement, and sometimes we fail at a certain point, and then the blame goes to our dear President. It is something that we need to put across. There are some documents I have, Honorable Chair. I will make a copy and share with the Minister, together with the team, to have a follow-up made. But otherwise, I'm in for a genuine support, because State House and Presidency is something very particular. We really need to support them, given the nature of the duties that pertain them. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Quickly.
Employment. And then another one is State House is undertaking several presidential initiatives in the spirit of incubation. What time is considered optimal for the incubation, after which the initiative is transferred to the relevant ministry? Then to the State House, to President's Office. When you look on page 20, the planned output financial year 2024 and 2025, talking about the National Secretariat for Patriotism Corps. We've looked at the capacity of 100 1,000 citizen students, blah, 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 as you all can see. My question is, what criteria was used choosing the monitored schools, the communities? Because I, for one, I didn't hear or even see that program in my district, as Kazo district. Yeah, then another one is the Afro-Arab Youth Council. We can see that Zaid Fund were 11,400, and what was got was 3,000, and then the deficit. But according to this, it shows that you procured 27 acres. I consulted my colleague who has been the chair. At least she told me that you are to purchase the land, of which I think it's there. But to me, I think it would have been more appropriate if it is mentioned what was done, what is the status of this as per now. Because it's a very good program. And according to what you have indicated, you call it an annual sports gala. I don't know whether it has been taking place or you are planning it in the next financial year. Then, yeah, basically, it's those two for you and the other two for State House. Thank you.
Honorable Kamkama, then Honorable Jessica.
Thank you so much, Honorable
Finally.
Chair, for allowing me a second.
State House later. So I'm coming on issues of State House only. Chair, I have interest on the industrial hubs. I want to appreciate the President for this initiative. It is targeting those who had lost hopes, even those who never entered formal learning system. And it is yielding a result, especially in my district. There were those who dropped at P3, P5, but they have now a chance to go back to learn something and earn a living. I will wish that in our budget, there should be provision for expanding these hubs. The absorption capacity is low per district. And the category of these people who did not continue with formal education is so high. And this is helping us to address issues of skilling, issues of employment, and mobilization. Therefore, it's not only economical but political as we do this mobilization. I pray that there is provision to expand our skill centers, state lodges. From 2020, the President promised to have a state lodge in Adjumani. You acquired the land. You are doing nothing on the land, and people are encroaching on the land. Can we get to know your plans for this state lodge? Lastly, Honorable Honorable Chair, I want to say one thing on the issues of RDCs, resident district commissioners. Yes, members have said that we need to plan for swift movement of these RDCs. Can we get to know what is there at the Secretariat? Because if we don't facilitate the Secretariat to move swiftly, then it will be difficult to manage the issues that we receive from these people, from our people as complaints. The rollout of the model parishes under State House is very key. I would love that State House takes us to go and see the progress of these model parishes, because Adjumani is a beneficiary. And to be honest, it is performing better. Many people are learning and life is getting changed. If we don't roll out these model parishes to the rural districts especially, and we rely on PDM and other agricultural activities, we may be disadvantaging our farmers. And I feel there is distinction between the model parishes under State House and PDM. Our model parish under State House came prior to the PDM. They have clear pillars. Chair, it will be good if we can have that interface to get educated on the pillars, because as the relevant committee, we need to stand in for our sectors, for our votes. If we shall fail to explain this before the budget committee in relation to the differences, then we may not be able to get more money to roll out this. And many of the parts of this country will get disadvantaged. I want to thank State House for taking model Paris to Adjumani. It's helping the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jessica, for those very wonderful to put to them that we need to roll out these parish
technical schools in every district. And for us in Kapchorwa, we don't have one, Madam Baruche.
Okay.
Last time when we were with State House Controller in Sebei, and we had agreed, and church gave us land. You said you can provide a technical school in a district. So we want it to be very clear. If it is because of money, then this committee should provide something, because it's very important. Then assistant RDCs, we have like in Sebei sub-region, there are areas that are not deployed. They have deployed, because they have been deploying in every district two. They have deployed one in Buko. It means there is a balance of one. And there are those people also who were trained and they were not deployed. If it is also because of money, then it is a right committee to provide this, because we want these people to work.
Okay.
They are doing a great job. I thank you, Chair.
I think that comes in also on the issue of presidential pledges. State House Controller, you didn't talk about them, and they're very critical, at least for us on our part of members of parliament, generally, not necessarily on this committee. But if you could start also with this committee, I have no problem, since it covers the whole country. But presidential pledges, this being an election year, are very critical, and I would like that item to be very well covered. Please, Madam Jane and the Honourable Minister. It's very, very important that you talk about those presidential pledges. I know one in my constituency, which dates as far back as 2013, where the president himself came personally to, and a simple thing, to construct just a priest's house that was damaged during the liberation of 1979. Can you imagine? You know where it all began. It all began in my constituency. Isinjiro House. Jane, you should be able to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I want to begin by apologizing for having come a bit late, but been having this discussion at heart and having followed what was shared to us. Honorable Chair, my major concerns are only two. One, the rate of duplications and new creations of activities. Duplications and new creations of activities within our would have been activities that should have been in the line ministries. Honorable Chair, I looked through the document in the scanning. I noticed there is an increment up to 75 billion on the presidential initiatives. And every year it keeps on increasing. Every year. And yet, Honorable Chair, some of the activities taking place in this particular docket would have been carried out by the line ministries. I'm meant to question myself, when will these activities go back to line ministries so that we avoid duplications? We have been in the processes of merger of very many institutions. Now here comes RDCs. We now, from RDC, deputy RDC, we have assistant RDC. How consequential are they in those particular dockets? As Presidential Affairs Committee, do we feel the impact? Does the society really attest to their being in that office? Or it is total wastage of resources combined? That's my simple comment I want to give, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
I think the Honourable Minister has gotten you very well. A member would like to know whether there is any
advisors. Honorable Chair and honorable members, it is true we do have both presidential advisors in office of the President and also in State House. But it depends on the discretion of the appointing authority. Question number 2, Honorable Chair and members, is about the meeting with HE, the President. Honorable Chair and honorable members, I will arrange for that meeting to take place, and I pledge I pledge when the President comes back from his trip, I'll make sure that I fix for that meeting to take place. Thank you. State House Controller.
Thank you so much, Honorable. The questions that I didn't capture well, I ask we submit the answers in writing.
It's actually a requirement of this committee that immediately after here, all the issues raised will be answered in writing back to us. And that should take, during the course of the week, let's have them in a written form. And I thank you for that.
Thank you. The first question from the honorable member was that which syllabus does skilling follow? We had discussed this thing before here. I think some of you who are here remember that our skilling uses a syllabus that is under Ministry of Education, that is DIT, and I think it is a legal syllabus. And then honorable member asked that why do we skill only in Kampala? We don't skill only in Kampala because all these industrial hubs in the 18 regions of Uganda do skilling. We do the same trades and the procedures are the same, honorable member. There is a question, why do we keep increasing the non-wage? Why do we keep increasing the non-wage is not my decision. It's a decision that is made by unexpected demand, honorable members. For example, I'm just going to give you just an example which came here. This morning, honorable minister was thanking the president for according our deceased 2 members an official burial. That expenditure comes to me. But when we were planning, we didn't know that these people are going to die at this time. So that such demands really captures us to go and request for supplementaries in form of either classified or donation that increases the non-wage. Another question was under Health Monitoring Unit. I'll ask my colleague to come in shortly and answer that question under Health Monitoring Unit, what we do and which solutions do we provide. The beneficiaries or the stakeholders don't realize the importance of that department. It is not true, we are doing a lot, but I'll call him to chop in and give us the answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Honorable Chair, through you, Madam Minister, and through you, Comptroller. And I could take the whole month explaining what we do, summarized as is humanly possible. Number one, almost all the institutions we've looked at, Mulago, Ntungamo, Kabale, Mbale, Namayingo, Iganga, Jinja, etc., etc., they all have cases in the court of laws. But it takes a bit of time for these laws to take effect. Some of them, we have a man who stole drugs worth 1.5 billion. 3 years down the line, he's still in court. You remember the guy who injected you people with the water for COVID? He accepted culpability. Do you know the charge? Almost killing people. But what was he sanctioned for? 2 million shillings. And he had bought a Subaru out of that. Terrible. So there is a lot that we do, but perhaps we don't even go to the papers as we should. In the case of Ntungamo Honorable Naume Kabasharira, the ghost health centers were expunged from the public service roster. That's number one. But it was syndicated corruption. It was actually not only the district, but also the public service. That was stopped. Money for government was recovered. The bleeding stopped immediately. But we don't make so much noise about it. Somebody who stole the ambulance from Itojo, we are still in court with him. But the lawyers are so smart, and some of you are, they are so smart, they delay the cases forever and ever. This land that you see in Mulago, in front of Mulago General Hospital, was stolen by the nurses, the president of nurses. It was stolen. And they built some private institution there. When the president said the private pharmacies must get out of the public institutions, that gentleman went and built a private pharmacy, a private laboratory in front of a general hospital on government land, plot 10, 11A and B. Stolen. I brought this case. The State House Health Monitoring Unit is not the law unto itself. There's the DPP, there's the Auditor General, there's also the police. We investigate. We give these findings to the Auditor General, to the DPP, to the police. The law takes its course, and it can take forever. Where will I stop? I don't know. The president has been asking for bail, to lift bail. You are members of parliament, honorable members. I have cases right now in the court who are thieves. They have been on bail, on bail, on bail, on bail, on bail. Why should they leave? Why should they go on bail? When they finally get sentenced, the sentence is very small. There is a woman in Namayingo. He killed a patient. He killed a mother because she refused to operate on that mother because she wanted 300,000 shillings. I'm in court with her. She's on bail. She's back on duty. The laws are very clear. The State House Comptroller will immediately tell you to follow the standing instructions. You sanction a person, they interdict them, 6 months down the line, they are back on duty because the law says you must go back after 6 months if you've not been convicted. We do, and then lastly, Mr. Chair, when we go to the district and do this work, we invite you, honorable members of parliament, for what is called a baraza. And we present what is called an aid memoir. We came, we saw this. This is the problem. This is the person who is the problem. We want you to solve it, and we'll make sure that we come back after so many months. That's why it is for repetitive and actually expensive for the comptroller to pay for this. Do you people attend these barazas? No, you don't. No, I'm afraid, honorable members, but maybe you are very busy and you don't come. We had a good baraza in Mbale. The city resident commissioner, the lady, is very well engaged. What are we investigating? Blood stolen. Or the invitation, okay, I'll make sure now you get invitations. And when we do these reports, we circulate them to members of parliament, to the district authorities, to the ministers of local government and ministers of health, and of course to our principal here in the. But this is work in progress. It is syndicated corruption. It is difficult to fight, but can we sustain? Yes, we can, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question was the plans we have for our after-training beneficiaries, honorable members, and I would wish you to interest yourselves in it. If possible, you visit. If possible, you come when the president is doing regional tours, because these are some of the areas he visits, see their performance and the challenges therein. So those members, if they could visit in their respective regions when the president comes, really, I think it can also help us to know what you're handling as a committee. Because this committee, I think, is supposed to be guiding us, to be also supporting us when we are asking for a budget. It's supposed also to appreciate what we do and also guide us on the wrong sides of our performance. So you should know all the things we are doing. Under skilling, we have managed to register circles district by district to include all our people that we have trained before. So the president is going to decide on how much to put in each circle so that these people can come, get money at a very minimal rate or a management rate for that case, so that they can go and do some of their businesses that they have been skilled into. But we are going to take this paper to cabinet so that it gets approved. And some of the interventions we've done is to engage some ministries, some institutions that can take them on. For example, recently, UPDF took some of our members that did welding, that did carpentry, to train them and put them on engineering brigade. And we are also engaging Ministry of Works to see if they can pick some to engage them to do the project of standard gauge railway. So we are not seated, we are moving here and there to see that these people are really, really well maintained after training. Another big issue that you always ask really, and we want your guidance, is how to handle presidential pledges. Presidential pledges have been so much an issue to everybody, because when any person gets a pledge, either written or verbal, they consider it done. But this is not going to be the case. It has not been the case because of the budget issues. We cannot sustain. The demand is too much. So we end up capturing only the urgent ones time by time. Institutional ones for churches, every other thing that seems to be very, very important on the side of the principal is what we run and capture. So those ones that are not certified, please, it's not our making, it's the budget failure that is not going to make us manage this. But if you have ideas as a committee, it's very welcome how we can handle this. Maybe you can write a paper to finance and they knock it off, the backlogs, because the backlogs are just too much, a lot. Yeah. We cannot really handle it without your intervention.
Madam Bareche.
Yes.
The issue of availability of resources is clear to all of us. We know. But if you look at a pledge of, say, 2013, compare it with the pledge of 2023, which has already been fulfilled, what do you expect? Honorable Biarugaba, Honorable Muhesi, whose pledge has been outstanding, to think. So it's also upon you to act smart and say, look here, Your Excellency, there are these pledges of 2013, 2014. Why don't we clear that backlog so that these ones also can wait? We had a similar case, a similar problem under this Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, on which I have recently been a member. The problem was these court awards. Those who are awarded today are paid the next month. Those who are awarded 10 years ago are still waiting, and caused a problem until government came up and said, no, let's get funds and clear out everything. So I think it all depends on you, the person that handles that solid small cash. It's being done by the Prime Minister. There are many demands regarding disasters. These people want ABCD. So they say, no, first come, first served. They follow that in an orderly manner. I wish you could apply that.
And must it only be fulfilled under State House? Can they not be spread in some ministries where they fall? These can be ways of faster implemented.
Thank you, Chair. We really understand what you're saying. Everybody else would give a priority to who came first. But these pledges are different categories. As you're planning to shed off the backlog of 2013, 2012, 2008, there comes a pledge of a patient who is going to Turkey. You understand me? I want you to, I'm just giving you an example, and then you relate with what you're saying. There comes a pledge of a patient who died from India. You're going to repatriate the body. You understand? So how do you now judge that you're going, no, you're not going to bring the body, or you're not going to take these patients to Turkey for treatment? You're going to consider the art of setting the backlog. That is not possible.
I can differentiate between an emergency and something
Yeah, but
administration. That one is understandable.
Yes, but Honorable Chair, remember you have a fixed budget that is supposed to do all that. So how do you prioritize and say, I'm shedding off and I'm not going to capture these emerging issues? Obviously, you capture health, you capture life, and other issues that I might not explain, and then you first leave the backlog. For example, when I came in, she knows, Honorable Beku knows, we had almost a backlog of $1 trillion. Yes, and then pages keeps coming every other time. So how are you going to do it? Do you have that capacity as government to shed off that? So you capture the urgent issues. It's not that you don't like the honorable member's region to serve it, because that's where I come from actually. It's not that you don't like yours, but you capture the things according to the urgency of the matter and the capacity of the budget. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. Let's consider his idea.
Go on and on and on and on until the cows come back home, they say.
Chair, if
But
you consider his idea of putting those categories in the ministries where they belong. What about that?
And Honorable Chair, for categories, yes, ministries still also receive pledges. It's not that they come to State House alone. They receive pledges of schools. They receive pledges of land compensations. They receive for vehicles. For example, for us, we give vehicles to all bishops of all religions in Uganda. You understand? So, and it is a must before inauguration, you have to provide the car. Even if you don't have a budget, you go for, so you go for dates. So it's not as easy as you might think, but we are trying to serve the president as and when he wants.
Chair, my understanding of a pledge is a request presented and accepted.
Government, through an individual, makes a promise. As members of parliament, since we have this privilege or an opportunity, we need to come and make statement on the floor of parliament so that it enters into record for an easy follow-up. And that was ruled by the late Jacob Olanya, the Right Honorable Speaker. And I think that will add on to what Honorable Court said. Not everything can be accepted. But also too, for our sake as leaders, I will propose that there should be a feedback where a pledge or a promise has been accepted, but maybe not implemented because of the challenges, so that we can explain ourselves. When we keep quiet, the assumption is we have done nothing. So if we can receive feedbacks, status of the implementation, so that we can explain. When we are in our districts, we represent government. Where there's no minister, a member of parliament stands in for government. So that is my proposal.
Thank you.
Thank
Anyway, all said and done, Jen, that's a burning issue. It's a bit painful, and it's important that maybe we look at some of those pledges and